The following program is a presentation of TDM Japan, Totown Digital Media.
Good day, Global News Network subscribers, and welcome to this special edition of Japan Journal. I'm your host, Mal Adams, coming to you from the heart of Japan, delivering sharp analysis and in-depth reporting on today's most pressing issues. We're diving into a critical topic that could have a profound impact on the upcoming 2024 U.S. presidential election. Today, we'll unpack former President Donald Trump's efforts to change how Nebraska, my home state, allocates its electoral votes, a move that could directly influence the path Vice President Kamala Harris takes to the White House. Stay tuned as we break it all down in 10 key talking points right here on this edition of Japan Journal with my very special guest who appears regularly on this series, Mr. Preston Love Jr., who he himself is a candidate for U.S. Senate from the critical district in Nebraska around which all this crisis revolves. Stay tuned, coming at you right now.
You're tapped into Japan Journal with Mal Adams, the internet's #1 weekly English language online cybercast from Japan, streaming on GNN, a division of Totown Communications Company Limited, Japan.
Okay, we are back, and let's begin our 10 talking points here. I'm happy to have my special guest, Mr. Preston Love Jr., who is a longtime family friend of mine and my big brother, and so I'm biased. This is not going to be the most objective journalistic reports. Preston, welcome to the show again for the third or fourth time. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you, Mal, for having me, and I'm looking forward to having this very serious discussion about very serious events here in the USA and how they all may impact the world, our country, and our state. Yeah, and so
isn't it interesting that our state, Nebraska, finds itself in this position? Particularly, our last interview was to introduce your candidacy, but now look, you're in a very hot seat right now.
You know, I remember the interview we had, and I remember an off-the-cuff statement I made to you, and we kind of nodded at each other, but that with only a certain amount of depth or lack thereof, that Nebraska surely could be the center of the political universe.
You did. I recall you saying
election.
And so exactly
it has turned out to be just that and more. And I'm looking forward to discussing all of the things that impacted.
Well, thank you very much. It is important, and you're a key person to share this story with our viewers here who may not understand the American Electoral College system and the voting. So we're going to get into all that. But first, let's describe the unique electoral system in Nebraska. Nebraska is one of only 2 states in the U.S. that awards its electoral votes by congressional district, with the Omaha area being a significant battleground. This allows candidates from either party to potentially win individual electoral votes, even if the state as a whole leans heavily Republican. For Kamala Harris, securing that Omaha vote could be critical in reaching the 270 electoral votes needed to win the presidency. How would you describe this in terms of Nebraska's status as a swing state, I guess?
Well, you know, when they make the list of the swing states, they don't list Nebraska yet.
Yeah, I noticed
that. A swing state is one that is contested, but has such high importance that it could swing the election one way or the other. Nebraska now currently is in the position recognized not by just you and I, by every political pundit and political activist in this country as having the potential of naming single-handedly and with one single electoral vote, choose the presidency of the country, because the chances are that the three congressional districts in the state, one of them will not go all of the five. We have 5 electoral votes. Let me first say that.
Okay.
And just for the math of it all, the way the electoral votes are put together, each state gets 2, so you have 100 there, and then each state gets 1 for each one of his congressional district. Nebraska has 3, but one of them is the one that is what we're talking about and is the focus, has the great propensity to make additional history by casting. If the state goes to the Republicans, but the congressional district goes to the Democrat, then Kamala Harris will have the unique opportunity to have one of our 5 cast in her favor, and that could be the deciding vote if the electoral math after the election turns out that both candidates have 269 electoral votes. Nebraska has 1 that could make it 270. The game is over.
Game is over. Okay. Let's update our viewers on the urgency of this story. Breaking news yesterday or so when I learned of this story, and I called you immediately, and I actually published my piece initially on it, but I'm happy to have you here now to give depth and meaning to the story as someone who was a participant in this particular point in history. Talking about the key political players in Nebraska, people will be interesting to know that former President Donald Trump is not acting alone in his push. It's backed by Nebraska Governor Jim Pillen and Republican senators like Lindsey Graham and Pete Ricketts. These key political figures have been lobbying hard to convince the state of Nebraska's Republican-controlled legislature to make the change before the election. Talk to me about the timing of that, the possibility of that happening or not.
Well, it's all happening just as you said it. May I say that Nebraska has another uniqueness that probably needs to be mentioned. We are the only state in the country that has a unicameral. And what that means is we don't have 2 legislative bodies like most states, where we have the House of Representatives and the senators. In all states, in Nebraska, we have 1 house, and all of the members of the legislature are called state senators. We have 49. In order to have enough majority for those 49 senators to cast their votes to change an existing law, and in this case, the changing from this what's called a split electoral votes to what all 48 states have what's called winner take all. No, regardless of what happens in the congressional district. And may I make just a point of preference, is let us not miss the understanding that if, for example, and I'll use an example, Nebraska Congressional District 2 cast 100% of their vote for the Democrat, and the rest of the state voted Republican, and if you go winner take all, that would mean every vote that was cast in the 2nd congressional district would not be counted towards the presidency. Don't you see? That's disenfranchising the people in that district.
Absolutely.
So it does not have that fact alone should not make the evidence as being used on our local politician, our governor, and uh, the House members and Senate members are saying they want to be like the other 48.
Yeah.
And some of us argue with that point alone. Why would you want to disenfranchise those people in the congressional district who won the congressional district and have no representation in the electoral process? That's not fair. So we did the right thing in Nebraska. Let us not return. But let me get to your point.
Okay.
Because of, first of all, Maine also has that same rule. Maine, however, has the rule, but it never has never had the impact of, in fact, casting a separate vote. Nebraska has twice. Once in 2008, of course, I would reference that 2008 with the candidacy of Barack Obama. We cast. And may I say, not trying, of only trying to be factual, that I was a very key player in the participation and the implementation and the victory of having that first time in the history of the United States that a split electoral vote was not only part of the law, but also that it happened.
Interesting.
So we then would follow that part of history in 2020 when it happened one more time. And so I say, and that's when the state went red, but the congressional district went for Biden. And so now here's the real answer to your question about not only Trump, not only Lindsey Graham, not only our governor, but all three of our congressional delegation and both of our senators, all were called to a meeting by Trump. I would call it a firing squad. And they were lined up and told what to do. And what they were told to do is go into Nebraska, physically, Zoom or however you do. Lindsey Graham visited the state, and they
times as the record
2 times, yeah, and without fanfare. And the task is this: we have 49 in this one house in the state, 49 senators, but in order to enact the law to return the state back to winner take all, they need 33 votes. The governor said he was going to, our legislature's not meeting. It's through for the year. But the governor,
yes, out of session.
People have gone back home. They're doing what they do. The state, they're counting their money. I say that in jest because the state senators make $12,000 a year. But they're back home trying to feed their families. But the legislature is shut down, and the governor wants to have a special session.
Right.
And have these senators consider the fact to vote back winner take all. It would take 33 of them. I want to use that word consider, underline, because let me tell you, you can call it what you want, but they're being told, those Republicans are being told what to do. They're by their presidential nominee and their long-term leader in the Senate, Lindsey Graham. And so many of those young and old in terms of their tenure, longevity, probably are either intimidated or excited about working with the president nominee, former president, and Lindsey Graham, and that whatever you want me to do, I will do. But
if I may interject, historically,
yes,
the record indicates that despite Republican dominance in the Nebraska state legislature, they've struggled to secure enough votes to pass this change. And a supermajority, I understand, is required to override filibusters, et cetera, and not all
And
state
that's
Republicans.
33. That's
Okay.
33.
And not all state Republicans are on board. Although 33, there are a few that
Yeah, that's true. But
have
it only
stated their opposition.
only takes a few, but it has boiled down to 2.
Okay.
In other words, the count. Believe me, they're not waiting to have the special session start counting. They're counting and probably having dinner at all 33.
Working on those 2.
Yeah, and working on those 2.
Yes, sir.
And I'm reporting to you not across the street. I'm in Nebraska and in the mix
I know
of
you
this.
are.
And so I can tell you first and second hand that one of those 2 is enough to stop the whole show.
Sure.
That one, without mentioning his name, that one is a senator, a Republican state senator who changed his party from Democrat to Republican recently.
Let me
1.
mention his name, Mike McDonald.
Okay.
I mentioned it.
Can you say it in
He's
Japanese?
the key holdout.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a holdout in one way of saying it, but saying it another way, he doesn't agree that we ought to return. The holdout is a perspective. I would say he's holed up. Thank you. If you follow. In other words, he's only holding out if you're looking at it from a Trump standpoint.
No. As a former Democrat, he's not a Republican, but he remains opposed to a winner-take-all system.
He remains opposed to...
And he has strong ties. Speak on this. I did my research, and I was wondering, why would he become a Republican, yet maintain his status? And I learned that he has strong ties to Omaha's labor community, and his decision could make or break the GOP's effort.
Well,
speak on that. The politics of it all.
Your research, by the way, so far has been extraordinary.
Thank you. That's what I do.
What I provide to your research is a verification of the facts, but a little added nuance to the perspectives of the facts.
Okay.
He is not, I forgot exactly what words, but he is a union official.
I see.
He is a union leader official.
Oh.
He is not just labor oriented.
A favorite son of or something.
A major labor official, and he is a member as you go up the chain to the AFL-CIO. The AFL-CIO has Democratic leanings right now and is in favor of keeping the split electoral vote as is. So if
let me just interject, are you not endorsed by them?
I personally, as a candidate for the United States Senate, would change lots of things as it relates to the Nebraska and maybe help maintain the senatorial advantage for Democrats. I'm running against one of the fellows, Pete Ricketts, who's a former governor and is sitting in the seat now, but was part of the firing squad or on the firing squad. Yes. But I'm saying yes. And so not only am I endorsed by the AFL-CIO, just for the record, I've been endorsed by half a dozen labor unions.
Understood.
So we could, but I'm saying.
But so is the Harris Ways campaign.
Yes, because there is the national AFL-CIO. And let me just make a little side issue because you brought up a good point. I was endorsed by the Omaha AFL-CIO. The national is another matter.
Sure.
Last week, I received a check from the national. That's their way of saying we endorse you as well.
Wow, wow,
That's
interesting.
my point.
Very interesting.
And a nice check, may I say.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but the AFL-CIO looks to Nebraska, looks to one of its leaders and says, beg your pardon, I want you to think this through, because if you chose to vote for returning to the winner take all, I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
I'm not, then I think his status as a leader among the leaders or even in the union would be jeopardized.
In jeopardy.
They wouldn't put him out of the union.
In
He has the
jeopardy.
right to have his own opinion, but he would be going against leadership. Number one, and may I also say about him is that he is surely going to be a candidate for the mayorship of Omaha, Nebraska.
Oh, really?
And so he needs to think through that decision like no other individual. And so it all rides on him.
Yes.
And his decision will also ride him.
Yes.
And so
or either ride him or he'll be carrying it.
Yeah, or he'll be ridden himself. And so the nature of this is that while he, at this point, is communicating to all of the above, he has plans not to vote for it. I would not say that anything, given the power that's being laid on this issue, be final based on what we heard that he said. And so we need to stay diligent. I will accept questions on what other things we might do, but I hope that I've answered the first.
No, you did. You did. I just share with you what I've learned in researching this story, and I couldn't have a better person sitting there contributing to this piece, and I appreciate it. You are hands-on in the midst of it, my friend.
Yes,
and it's historical, amazing, and wow. I hope all things bode well for you and your party and your candidacy. Let's see what happens.
May I add this to my just a short commentary before you go on?
I've got a couple more points I want to make. Go ahead.
My interest in this is threefold. One is I think if she is able to obtain the votes nationwide, I'm surely for Kamala Harris, not because I'm a Democrat, but I am a Democrat. I'm for her and hope she wins. And so that's one thing. Secondly, I surely would be against anything that would not be fair in the election process.
Absolutely.
And not allowing me as a resident in this congressional district and my friends who would vote for her, that our votes would be completely negated and ignored in the electoral process in Nebraska. That would be an affront. And I think it comes under the guise of what the Republicans also are doing in other places, is finding new ways to suppress the vote. And so I said,
before you get into that, because that's a deep rabbit hole right there, buddy.
It is.
That's in the news today. And
that's as deep as high as that mountain is behind you.
There's Mount Fuji, 3,760 meters tall.
Yes, sir.
I've been to that mountaintop, actually,
my goodness,
in my years in Japan. But here, to the extent that Trump has mounted his forces and sent them to Nebraska, he had a phone call with your governor. Lindsey Graham came here on 2 occasions, as you stated. Do you think that Kamala would have an interest in coming here and putting her hand in the game to support us and recognize the importance of bolstering the condition and situation as it is now, to give her an edge on the possibility of benefiting from this particular configuration?
Excellent question, Mr. Adams.
Well, I
And
only pose it because I think if she ain't, you need to holler at her.
well, yeah, holla,
In
kind of
public
hot.
talk.
Well,
Yeah,
I would only add to your question, which is an excellent question, is that she should.
she should.
May I say what we said before? Now, Nebraska is a swing state,
That's what I'm
and she's
saying.
visiting twice a week. The
Oh,
swing state.
she's
She
in
needs,
been to Pennsylvania 4 times.
yes, she
And
needs because her presidency might be determined by her visit, and so
as of yesterday, this is new. So I'm
yes, and
saying
so
she'd be remiss if she were not advised to come here and
yes.
put her there. And you
Well,
would be
some
in a
of us,
position to welcome her and benefit from that
yes, sir.
recognition
Yeah, there
as
would
a
be some other
candidate.
benefits. Her
Absolutely. Absolutely.
designee,
Sure.
Tim Walsh, came here to one of the most exciting uh,
Rallies.
rally. I had the honor of speaking
You
before
mentioned that in
he
our last
did
interview. Yeah.
on the stage.
Yeah.
Received tremendous response, myself and he and the potential candidacy at that time of Kamala. I'm not scared to urge and challenge her and the party
That's
to
why I bring it up.
come to. I was encouraging them before the Republicans
Before
woke
this.
up,
Yeah, sure.
but now I'm insisting.
Oh, it's
that,
urgent.
yes,
Urgent. Yeah. Interesting. Very fascinating story, my
yes,
friend.
sir.
I tell you.
And I find myself looking at myself and looking at you and I as we grew up in
Yeah.
poverty-stricken community,
Isn't
in the
it?
same community that we're now saying is the center of the political world.
Absolutely.
And now that we're playing these roles in what may change the nature of the world.
Listen, the same thing occurred to me before I called you to appear.
Yes, sir.
Rather
yes,
spontaneously.
Sir. We're not sitting in the barbershop talking about this.
No,
We're talking about me as a senator, you reaching thousands across the
from
world.
Japan helping to control the narrative. I say
sir.
unabashedly, you know.
Yeah, and the people need
this
to
is
know.
Advocacy journalism that I'm doing because of those things that you mentioned. You are like
sir.
family, and your family is like my family, and we go back decades growing up in Nebraska. It's a fascinating thing, and what two other brothers could have this conversation?
Yeah, we need
way?
a third party to record the fact that we are doing, because we're, for whatever reason God chose us.
Yes.
We're here at a latter part of our lives.
Yes.
As elders and thought leaders.
Fascinating part of the story, bro.
And we are playing a role that God probably has left us here to play.
Yes, sir.
And may I say, we're not playing. It's serious business. Your
serious for me
about Kamala coming to Nebraska, to me, is a must. In fact, if I knew how, and I probably would get into Democratic trouble, how to start the drum roll.
No.
Yeah.
They would thank you for doing
Ultimately,
it.
They will.
No.
If they're not planning to do it, and I embarrass them, is what I meant. If they're not planning to do it, I want to embarrass them.
Okay.
Because they need to come for 3 or 4 reasons.
Oh.
First,
one big reason.
Yeah, if she were to come here, we will solidify several things. One, we will solidify that we flip the House.
Yes, sir.
House seat that is held by a Republican in this congressional district and held by them for over 14 years. And every year, every 2 years, we have an election, and we should win that, and we don't, because one, the candidates have not excited the African-American vote enough in order to come out. Now I'm running. The Black and people of color are excited about voting. We're at the tip. We can flip the House. If she would come, it would assure it. And that's number two. Number three, we would get the electoral vote. And may I say this, and this is breaking news, Mal, is
Sorry.
that we flip the House and get the electoral vote in Congressional District 1.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir. It's a
You could-
longer shot. But
Oh.
I'm saying
Well, that would
the
be
tide,
that would be a bonus.
yes. And if all she has to do is come to the state, she could have an effect on all of the above.
A point of personal privilege. Since you made the comment, you recognize the incredible circumstance that you and I find ourselves in at
Yes.
this point in our lives. I trust me, it occurred to me before I asked you to be on the show at this particular point in time. But I don't want to leave that point, because let me testify that as an international broadcast journalist of over 50 years, you were at my Hall of Fame induction at the Omaha Press Club, you know, and from the age of 19, and I'm 75 now, a few years younger than you. How do I look?
Yeah, you don't look a day over 80.
You're stealing my lines, man.
I made that up.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But listen, you feel my point. This is amazing. So here's my I'm stepping out of my role as an objective journalist who's covering the news story. No, I'm a participant in advocacy journalism, because I want to see you succeed. I want to see my state succeed, and I want to see my nation succeed. So if I have any influence as a journalist to share this discussion to a degree, I intend on sharing it with Democrats abroad, so they will understand the importance of this particular story. And I may be calling you again to have a seminar and a discussion with them, because we do Zoom conferences for all of the regions around the world. And if there are Nebraskans in there who may be living in France or Spain, that will benefit your thing, because I'm going to vote next week. My ballot arrives.
Yeah. Yes,
and
sir.
we play a very
You have your
important
ballot?
role. It's applied for, already on the way. So we'll mail it in. Yeah, man.
Yes.
So we those of us who live abroad sometimes vote sooner than other states.
Yes.
But my point is, this is not a joke. This is serious. And I recognize the import of this opportunity to contribute in this way. I'm happy, and I wish you well. It's just amazing. You acknowledge God in the mix. But that's real.
I want to say this, Mal, because it could be interpreted by the non-thinkers that this determination is focused, while it is the focus, that is Congressional District 2, the people of all Nebraskans have something to say about this.
Absolutely.
And I would say that some percentage of the Republican senators, state senators, may have thoughts and may be successfully paralyzed by the power of the national dynamics, but not enough power to just roll over. This is why students of the politics ought to know is don't give in, because every seat could change the nation.
Absolutely.
And so you have this fellow, Mr. McDonough, who, by the way, is a friend of mine. And Mr. McDonough is simply a state senator.
Right.
And yet he holds the balance.
That's amazing.
Of the dynamics. He should be on this show.
No. I was just going to ask you. Hook me up.
Yeah, I will ask him.
Holler at him and tell him I want him to be on the show.
Right now, I think he wants to go home.
If I may interrupt, let me finish my point that I was leading.
Yes, sir.
Because of the position I'm in, to have you on and generate and try to take over the narrative of this story, this is the beginning of it. So we will try to contribute this particular interview to our Democrats abroad, so that they understand that this is a national, global story.
Yes.
and I have the key player right here on the show. So that helps us to get our information out and generate enthusiasm about this particular situation. The other one is so that the Democratic National Committee and the people there understand, and the campaign consultants and managers understand. It could generate a very enthusiastic fourth quarter. We only got 2 months left in the election day.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be interesting if it would?
Oh, it is interesting.
So
and
I need your support, and I hope you will, because you're there, I'm here. But anything I can do is contribute to getting the story out and contributing to the narrative about this. I'm happy to do. I'm fully committed. So I just wanted to get that off.
Well, the message, as we see on the other side, needs not just come from me, John the Baptist, crying in the wilderness. It needs to come and be understood at the very top, like it is in the Republican Party. Let me just say it that way. They figured it out. They have figured it out. Trump has figured it out. Lindsey Graham has figured it out. The Republican delegation in non-Nebraskas, they figured it out. They are all focused.
And I tell you, as an observer of these things, I'm sure Trump was not happy with them exposing his playbook or his, but because he made a phone call to your governor and Ricketts and all these guys and called them to task to come out here.
Yeah.
The Democrats need to recognize their moves, their playbook, and pose a defense, to stuff.
Well, I tell you this, that maybe makes sense to part of your audience. First of all, Nebraska is a big football state.
That's right.
And in Omaha, we host the College World Series.
Yes, we do.
If these Republicans were successful in what they're trying to do, it would be analogous to be in the fourth quarter and being in the 20-yard zone. They call that the yellow zone or whatever they call
red
it.
zone.
And then they say timeout and change the rule.
Right.
Or at the College World Series, being in the ninth inning, and now you get 4 strikes because not only should you not change it, it's absurd to change it a moment before the election to slant the election in one way or another. It is the law. Leave it alone. For 1992 is when this law was passed. Now here we come with the end of the world, got to call a special session. I will assure you that if they don't get it done, they'll be coming. But we'll be ready for them, by the way, when they do. But
absolutely,
try to do it at the 11th hour is a insult to all of Nebraskans. But to the point that you made, I want to make it myself, is it's time for not just us in the party to talk about this. We need to match power with power. We need to have Kamala come to this state.
Yes, we do.
And talk about her candidacy and the contrast, but also talk about the idea of keeping it split electoral.
Show her support. Yeah, absolutely. Great pivot to a related but a different question. This is news to me, and I have to do a piece on it. What's going on in Georgia along the same lines of changing the game in midstream? You're on the 20-yard line and getting ready to go over the goal, and they blow the whistle and say, no. As we speak, this is going on in Georgia. Shed a little light on that for me, if you will. What's going on? And not only Georgia, but other states are trying to do it. The red states
and Georgia are trying, and I wouldn't be surprised now that this may fail here as it relates to winner take all.
Could shift,
that Trump tells the governor that, okay, let's try this. and that this is
Well, it's
what
already in the
Georgia is doing.
playbook, in my opinion. I
Yes,
think-
the playbook is the new playbook for Trump and the enablers is that, and my opposition is a valid Trump enabler. And I hope he receives the result and the polling place on election day that an enabler of Trump deserves defeat.
Right.
But,
Great.
but more specifically, another strategy is to set up legally a process that would give a new group of people the authority to not to give the authority to only certify an election result if they want to, not based on the numbers, but just based on their feeling that the election is not whatever. But it's a process that will give the power of all of the people, millions of people that vote, to a handful that can be fit in at a conference table, and they could decide against certifying. People don't know that the way essentially very quickly and bulletized is you have the vote, the votes are counted. Am I still verbally being heard?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I've lost the video. That might have been something I hit, but that's
Okay.
not. Can you see me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, then no problem.
No break. Yes.
Yeah. So what we have is that when the votes are counted and the results are announced, they are not official. That's what people really don't know. First of all, there's what's called provisional votes that come into play. That takes them a couple of weeks to get all that resolved. And then there is an official number. But then the only thing that makes the election official is when it's certified.
Right.
And it usually is certified by the Secretary of the state. What's going on in Georgia, to answer your question, they have added another body to really have the power to certify the election, and that is subject to subjectivity, corruption, and everything, and then really undoing the democracy all in one soul. So that is where that's the ultimate and set up as the goal. And so it may creep into Nebraska.
That's right. That's right. Well, this is a breaking story. It's still evolving. We'll keep our eyes open and our ears open. I appreciate your participation in my coverage of it. I just think that I'm in a position to be able to share this information that you've given us to my viewers, many of whom are not related because they live abroad, but in the state of Nebraska. Please post this on your platforms as well, and let's let the people know the importance of this particular point we find ourselves in political history.
Yes, we do.
Appreciate it very much, and please make yourself available because there will be follow-up on this, no doubt. And
well, it was my pleasure to see you again as a friend, and to see you and respect you as a long-term journalist anywhere, but specifically in Japan, and see you when you return home occasionally. And but I feel honored that I'm able to be at the table at a time when Nebraska history is going to be made. That's going to be horrible. It's going to be great, and I'm going to be part of it. Absolutely. But I don't celebrate the fact that I'll just be part of it, but that maybe I could make a difference in how these things may go. If it may be my votes that I get, it may be my voice, but whatever it is, I'm here, and thank God, to play that role. Nebraska, in closing is that we are becoming, in 2024, the center of the political universe.
Absolutely. Amazing. And let me just thank you for influencing and making an impact on the story as it evolves, because it's not over yet. So thank you very much. I'll be calling you again, so no doubt.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks so much. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. As we've seen, this battle over electoral votes in Nebraska is more than just a local issue. It is far-reaching and has far-reaching implications for the 2024 presidential election and for democracy itself. Kamala Harris's path to the White House could be dramatically altered by the decisions made in Nebraska in the coming weeks. Now more than ever, it's critical that voters stay informed and active in this process. So my shout out to my home state people and my home folks in Omaha, Nebraska. Nebraskans, your voice matters in this election. This is not just about one vote in one district. It's about your ability to influence the direction of the nation. I urge you to speak out and lobby your state senators to protect your district's independent voice. Don't let external pressures take that away. Join the movement to secure a better future for all Americans and stand with Kamala Harris in 2024 and my friend and brother, Preston Love Jr. And to all our viewers, make sure you subscribe to Japan Journal and stay enlightened on the top news stories shaping our world. I'm Mal Adams, and I thank you very much for watching. Sayonara from Japan. Thank you.
You're tapped into Japan Journal with Mal Adams, the internet's #1 weekly English language online cybercast from Japan, streaming on GNN, the Global News Network, a division of Totown Communications Company Limited, Japan.